Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale video. Today, we'll be talking about the next balance update in Clash Royale. When is it coming, and what cards do I want to see included in the list? And then afterwards, I'll share with you guys some of your own ideas of stuff you want to see included in that balance update. So when are the balance changes coming? Well, Clash Royale has already said that the balance changes will be included in the big April update. Now, we already know that 1 week ago, Clash Royale said the update was coming in a couple of weeks, which today, Monday, April 16th, puts us exactly 1 week away from a couple of weeks. So if I had to guess, I would say the next big update is coming on Monday, April 23rd, which will be when the balance changes are coming as well. If I am correct, we'll probably see a couple of teaser images posted by Clash Royale over the weekend, but let's go ahead and talk about the next balance update. What do I want to see in there? First, I want to talk about the cards that I want to see buffed in the update, and then we'll go on to the nerfs, just because I feel like buffing cards is a bit more fun than nerfing them. Now, the number one card that I want to see buffed in the update is the Mega Knight. The Mega Knight is a legendary card, and it was hit very, very hard with a nerf in the February balance update. They reduced the Mega Knight spawn and jump damage by a whopping 25%, and they also decreased the spawn damage radius. And I think it's kind of funny how before that balance update, the Mega Knight was literally the number one meta card in the game, and then afterwards, you almost never see it being played ever, which is partly because both princes are very popular in the meta, and they both do a very good job of hard countering the Mega Knight, but also he was nerfed a bit too much. So if I were to buff the Mega Knight, I would bring back half of the spawn and jump damage that they nerfed, so 12.5%, and I would also give him back his old spawn damage radius. Now, the second card that I want to see buffed is actually the Barbarian Barrel. I think we can all agree by now that the Barbarian Barrel is a little bit underwhelming. I think it's because of one major fact. It does not knock back the Prince, the Dark Prince, or the Battle Ram. Honestly, I'm kind of okay if it doesn't knock back stuff like Golems, Giants, RGs, and Giant Skeletons. There has to be something that separates the log from the Barbarian Barrel, but Prince, Dark Prince, and Battle Ram are all very popular in the meta, and in order for the Barbarian Barrel to be a reliable replacement for the log, it has to at least knock back a charging Prince, a charging Dark Prince, and a charging Battle Ram. And the third card that I want to see buffed is the Magic Archer. I feel like for being a legendary card, it needs to be a little bit stronger in the game. I wouldn't buff its health. I'm fine with it dying to Fireball in one shot. I mean, Flying Machine dies to Fireball in one shot. It's a competitive card. It costs 4 elixir, so I feel like his health is a bit okay. The problem is the arrow of the Magic Archer is way too tiny. The Magic Archer has a hard time reliably countering stuff like Minion Horde, Bats, or Goblin Gang without the help of a NATO spell. I feel like the arrow needs to be a little bit wider in order to be more of a reliable splash damage card. Now, the next two cards that I want to see buffed in the game are the arrows and the Fireball. I feel like right now the Poison spell dominates the game as the go-to heavy spell in almost every deck in the meta. I feel like arrows and Fireball could use a small buff. The way that I would buff them is decrease their travel time and make them reach their target faster. As it is right now, if your opponent uses, for example, a Minion Horde and you have arrows or Fireball, usually by the time your spell reaches the Minion Horde, your tank is almost already dead. I would make the arrows and the Fireball travel faster, kill the Minion Horde faster, save your tank a bunch more health, and I think that would make both of those options a bit more competitive versus the Poison, which right now has the trifecta of heavy spells: large radius, damage over time, area denial, etc., etc. Arrows, Fireball need to travel faster. Now, very quickly here, the final 4 cards that I want to see buffed. The first is the Knight. Bring back the health that you took away in February. The second is the Hunter. Give him a slightly faster attack speed. As it is right now, he is a little bit too slow, not too much, just a very slight attack speed increase. The third is the Lightning spell. We can all agree right now, the Lightning spell is a bit too underpowered. It was nerfed way back in October, and it hasn't really been in any meta deck ever since then. And the final card is the Skeleton Barrel, which also went from being in the number one meta deck in the game to not used at all. It used to have 8 skeletons, now it has 6. I think the perfect number is 7, halfway between overpowered and underpowered, which probably would just be a balanced card. So that concludes the list of cards I want to see buffed in the next update. Let's go ahead and talk about the cards that I want to see nerfed. first and foremost, you probably already guessed the first two. The first is the Dark Prince, which is an absolute beast. The opposite of the Mega Knight, and the Skeleton Barrel went from being one of the #1 underused cards in the game to the #1 most overpowered card in the game. They buffed his attack speed and his health in the February update. Personally, I would revert one of those buffs, either his health or his attack speed, to tone him down a little bit. And the Spirit Goblins, I think, were buffed back in December, where they made them attack a bit faster. Personally, I would just revert that buff as well, bring them back to the way they used to be before that buff. And what you do there is you nerf the Spirit Goblins, you nerf the Goblin Gang, and you nerf the Spirit Goblin HUD as well, which would be a huge blow for all of the bait meta. Now, even with the nerf to the Spirit Goblins, the next card that I want to see nerfed as well is actually the Goblin HUD itself. I feel like right now it has a bit too much health and is a bit too tanky for an offensive and defensive spawner card. Like right now, it's almost the best of all worlds. You have yourselves a defensive distraction, a defensive tank. It spawns out Spirit Goblins on defense, which do work, which then convert to a counter push and do damage on offense. I feel like for something that has so much versatility, it shouldn't have so much health. So, I would nerf the health just a little bit, so stuff like Fireball and Poison give you a bit more value. Now, the second last card that I want to see nerfed, and I'm kind of on the fence on this one, so feel free to share your opinion down below. Maybe you will change my mind, but that is the Tornado spell. I feel like right now, it's a bit too strong. The way I would nerf the Tornado spell is reduce the radius of the tornado ever so slightly, maybe like 0.25, a quarter of a tile reduction on the radius of the tornado. And the last thing I want to see nerfed here, this one once again might be a bit controversial, so feel free to share your opinion down below. Just an idea that I had one day, but I feel like most defensive buildings in general last a little bit too long and could probably use a bit of a duration reduction. You know, stuff like Tesla Tower, Goblin HUD, Barbarian HUD, they last a very long time. If you're using a cycle deck, it is very easy to have 2, even 3 Teslas down at a time. Most defensive buildings, in my opinion, promote defensive gameplay, which in turn leads to more draws. So I kind of like to see what it would be like if defensive buildings in general lasted a bit less. And once again, I'm kind of on the fence about that idea. Just wanted to share it with you guys to maybe spark a discussion and hear what you guys think. Do you think stuff like Goblin HUD, Tesla, Inferno, Barbarian HUD, do you think stuff like that lasts a bit too long for defensive structures? Now, before we finish off my balance change wish list, I want to talk to you guys about the idea of potentially removing cards completely from the game. So as it is right now, if they keep adding cards to the game every single month, every single new update, eventually we'll get to the point where we have like over 150 cards in the game, which is a lot of cards, guys. Now that does 2 things to the game. First and foremost, if you're a new player to the game, it's extremely overwhelming when you start progressing in trophies and unlocking all these different new cards. You have no ideas which ones to use first. It's just so overwhelming. And second thing, the more cards they add to the game, the more gold you need to upgrade them, and also the harder and harder it gets, to unlock a specific card that you want from a chest. So I'm kind of open to the idea of them completely removing some of the underused cards in the game that you never use anyways. Obviously, they would have to give you a refund for any gold you spend upgrading those cards, but what it does is it allows them space to keep adding more cool cards in the future. And the first 2 cards that I can think of that I would remove from the game would be the Bomb Tower and the Heal Spell. Both of those cards, when they were strong, were game breaking, but when they're weak, they're basically not used by anyone. The Heal Spell, when it was strong, was way too rock, paper, scissors, and the Bomb Tower, when it was strong, was way too defensive, and almost every game ended in a draw. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's too crazy to completely remove cards from the game? Or are you open to the idea if they refund you the gold? But that will conclude my wish list of stuff I want to see included in the balance update. Personally, I feel like buffing cards is a bit more fun than nerfing them, which is why my buff list is a lot longer than the nerf list. But we're going to go ahead here, finish the video off by reading to you guys some of your own ideas of stuff you want to see included in the balance update. So on my video a couple days ago, I asked you guys what you want to see in the balance update. Here's what you had to say. First, we had, I want to see the Mega Knight to be buffed, which I definitely agree with right there. Somebody said, I hope Mega Knight, Wizard, Lightning to be buffed and nerfed. I'm not too sure. I want Giant Skeleton Bomb nerfed. That's a pretty interesting one, guys. The Giant Skeleton isn't too strong. Personally, I think it's kind of fine the way it is. Royal Giant and Goblin Gang are needed to be nerfed. Mega Knight should be buffed as well. Wizard needs a buff. Bullet needs a buff. Ice Wizard needs a buff. We have Goblin Hunt needs a nerf. We have Mega Knight, Ice Wizard, and Miner needs a buff, while E-Barbs and Royal Giant needs a nerf. Hoping Mega Knight, Wizard will never get buffed, and a buff to Dark Goblin and Knight and rocket damage, because the minus 5% in the last balance change was a huge effect. Buff Mega Knight, nerf Tesla, and finally, hope they bring the Mega Knight back to life. So those are all of your guys' ideas for the balance update. Once again, what do you guys think about anything in this video? Do you agree or disagree with any of my ideas? Do you like my balance changes? Do you like the idea of removing cards from the game, etc., etc.? What do you think? Or if you guys didn't get a chance to voice your opinion in that video a couple days ago, what would your ideal balance update be? Let me know down below. But guys, that will be the end of the video. Really looking forward to the new April update. Hopefully less than 1 week away from today. But guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for some more Clash Royale content. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.